Good morning, everyone. As always, place your cross on first. What does that mean? Study the word, seek God, seek heavenly things, pray without ceasing. You know what that means. You're out and about. Keep God in your mind. You know, the thing is, that doesn't happen overnight, but I will tell you this. God can do a lot of things overnight, though. You know, I'm saying that because it's not going to go the same for everybody. But some, it's going to happen overnight. Like, you know, put you in his word and have you reading it and studying it and reading it and studying it and reading it and studying it. Because the thing is, you don't understand is, he's prepping you for whatever he has for you to do. He's preparing you now. Preparing me. Whatever purpose he has for you, he's preparing for you. Jeremiah 29. I know the thoughts I think towards you. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. I'm not going to say what the new translation say. I'm going to stick to that one. So if he has a plan, he said whatever, when he began to work in you, he's going to finish it, right? All right, finish the course. Stay at it. If you faint not, within your patience possess your souls. I just said a lot of things right there, but take it in. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. If you read the New Testament in all its context, you'll see it's something that the Lord really frowns upon. He talks about it. And we as calling ourselves saints shall frown upon the same thing. Fornication and adultery. Fornication and adultery is like one of the worst sins you can commit. Why you say that, Houston? I'm going to tell you why I say it. Let's start reading the Bible. Matthew chapter 19. And it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Listen close to the question. Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Listen close to the question. Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Listen closely, people. Jesus gives the answer. I'm not going to go back to the Old Testament. I'm not going to go back to the bounce around. I'm going to show you exactly what Jesus said. Remember the question. For every cause. So, before I get started, if you married or you with a husband, here's your answer. If you're thinking about divorcing, if you're thinking about separating from your wife for anything, and I know a lot of people are going to go into this and be like, man, what about spousal abuse? Well, the Bible didn't really answer that question on spousal abuse, but I'm going to tell you something. He did answer it. Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them, or at the beginning, made them male and female? First of all, he give you order. He's like, I made males and females from the beginning. That's going to tell you about marriage right now. So marriage is between a male and a female. That answers itself. And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother and shall cleave to his wife. A wife is a woman. And they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. Now, I'm not going to add to the word, but I'm going to be specific what he says. He said, what God have joined together, let not man put asunder. Man. But there's an exception. He said for them, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so. But then sin entered the world. But from the beginning, it was not so. God intended for marriage to be forever. To go on and go on. Why do you think David was punished so harshly? For sleeping with another man's wife, getting her pregnant, sending the husband to the front lines to his death, and then trying to hide his sin. And God was like, what is you have done? What is this you do? What you have done, man? This is wrong what you're doing. That's what he said. I ain't seen you come yet. I've been up here for a second. Since about 6:55. About 6:55. I ain't seen nothing. But as I was saying, people, from the beginning, he set it up for man to be with his wife forever. And that's how I was saying with David. David, you know what happened with David's household because of the act of adultery, which led to murder? And if you read Proverbs, it talks about the act of adultery so bad, so much. It's ridiculous. It's like you read further, hey, keep you from the type of woman. But adultery still includes male and female, right? But I'm for real. David had strife in his house for the rest of his life because of the act of adultery and murder. And he was one of God's children. You see, one thing you got to realize, there are consequences to your actions, people. You can't bless who God is cursing. You can't curse who God is blessed. Works both ways. But if the quick way to bring a swift destruction or a curse upon your life, sleep with somebody else's wife or sleep with somebody else's husband. Dangerous. I know a person, a co-worker of mine right now. Man, this girl I'm talking to, she won't answer the phone because she with a man. Wow, amazing. And you think and then he called himself a child of God. Always thanking Jesus. Always praising the Lord. But in deeds and works, you deny him. But he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And I say unto you, whosoever, listen closely to the answer, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whosoever marry her which put away, doth commit adultery. So think about this world when, now it'll make you really think this is an adulterous generation. I think about when God says it's an adulterous generation. I think about how many people out there are separating from their wives and their husbands because they're mad at each other. Or let's say spousal abuse. Let's say that too. Because you know, people try to put that in there. You know, God don't really talk about spousal abuse. Yes, he do. He told you the reason. Y'all better start praying. And the thing is, this is the thing. How many people have left their husbands or wives for spousal abuse? How many times have you heard somebody say, my husband or my wife is abusing me? And they start falling out of love with them, right? And then they find somebody else who's like, I'm going to treat you better than your husband. He shouldn't be beating you like that. Then they can have sex. Two wrongs don't make a right. The best thing to do, if you're in a situation like that, pray, and God will make a way. Now, remember, the Bible said, what God put together, let not man put asunder. So a lot of people sneak into people's houses just that way. Oh, girl, I'll treat you so much better than that. Look at the devil, so cunning. A man don't supposed to hit a woman. But you know what you can do, though? You can sleep with me. Because your husband is a piece of trash. What that makes you? Sneaking in off of her weaknesses or his weakness. Your wife shouldn't be talking to you like that. I would never speak to you like that. I'd be the best wife you ever had. Just sleep with me. Next thing you know, they sleeping together. And then after that, they come into agreement with themselves like, ain't nothing wrong with what I'm doing. According to the Bible, it is. That's not a reason to divorce. You understand me? Actually, now do you understand Jesus? What did Jesus say? Whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whosoever marry her which is put away doth commit adultery. Whoever marries her that is put away because of the act of fornication or adultery. I mean, without the act of fornication at all, or adultery. So if you marry somebody who just left their husband because I found somebody better, or I'm just tired of him, and then they divorce, and then they go marry somebody else, they basically still married to their first husband in the Lord's eyes. A certificate of divorce means nothing if it wasn't because of fornication or basically adultery. God hates adultery. He loves marriage, but he hates adultery, and he also hates fornication. His disciples said to him, if the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. You see, a lot of people is like, so if I get mad at my wife, I can't divorce her? Dude, who need to marry then? A lot of people are like, no. Because probably for a long time, people were just getting divorced for anything. But he says to them, all men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. So what is he saying? It's not meant for every man to get married? And it's not meant for every man to be single, but some people it's meant for them to be single. What being single mean? Abstaining from fornication. For there are eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven. Say, he that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Basically, you know what being a eunuch is? You castrate yourself. I'm not just saying God's telling you to, in order to be a single man or woman of God, a single man of God, you got to castrate yourself, but you got to castrate yourself to the Lord. You can't you can't possess your vessel in an unruly manner because you're single. Jesus don't even say I give you a pass if you are single. Then if you read next, you go on further, right? Somebody asked him a question. 19:16. And behold, one came and said unto him, good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said to them, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. What's one of the commandments? Thou shalt not commit adultery. And it's crazy because Jesus brought that one up. He said to him, which Jesus said, thou shalt not do murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Jesus quoted the commandments to him. And you got to think about it. He was just talking about the act of adultery. And then he brought it up again. If you love me, you keep my commands. I'm not under the law. Well, if you're a Christian or a believer, he's supposed to have put his laws in your heart. And you're going to do it because you love him and you want to please your Father which is in heaven. There you go. Look at that. He threw it up again. See, he said, thou shalt not murder. You remember what happened with David? Murder was committed. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery was committed. Thou shalt not steal. He stole. He stole somebody else's wife. Thou shalt not bear false witness. He lied about it, tried to cover it up. Honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Was he loving his neighbor as himself? When he stole somebody else's wife? Oh, she's so fine. Boy, she butt naked, bathing up there. Get her to me. I like her. That ain't cool. And then he got an example. When he first met the woman, I mean, he was like, who is that woman? Oh, that's the wife of Uriah. Right there could have been an instant red flag. Y'all hear me? People, y'all ain't gonna have no excuses. Normally, you know. That's what happens most time when people commit adultery. I did not know. Somebody will tell you, you know that so-and-so wife. Get her to me. You know that so-and-so husband. Get him to me. I'm gonna set y'all up on a date. All these devils out here. I remember when I was separated from my wife, my first wife, and I came back to Mobile, and I came back to Mobile around May. And when I came back around May, my brother threw me a birthday party. But during that birthday party, some woman I knew, and my brother's side, wife's girlfriend side of the family, she was getting married. And they started having issues. Next thing you know, they was kind of separated, but months passed. I mean, they went out, and she went out. They urged me to go out with them, and she went out too. She was separated from her husband at the time, and I'm like, and she was just all up on me. And she was like, "What's wrong with you?" I like, "Nothing." I knew what was wrong with me. I just ain't tell her. I ain't finna miss. One thing God told me something years ago. Years ago, don't you ever mess with a married woman. You got to think about it. When you're seeking a wife, that's basically what I got. When you're seeking a wife, don't you ever mess with a married woman. Don't you ever. And I'm telling y'all the same thing. You want to die quick? You want to die quick? Mess with somebody who's married. And you can die real fast. It's up to you. God hates it. He hates when we commit adultery against him. That's why he used adultery and whoredoms. He used those words so much. And people just, whatever. God is a forgiving God. He is forgiving. But he said God is angry with the wicked every day. If he changed not from his way, he would whet his bow. What that mean? He finna shoot an arrow at his back. Check this out. Y'all finna be mad at me today. It's okay. Because I know a lot of y'all probably in adulterous relationships right now. You know. Or in fornicative relationships. One thing I know when I post these videos, if I post a video and I don't get a lot of thumbs up, it's doing what it do. Because most people are living in fornication. I'm just being real. Most Christians are living in fornication. Some of them are sleeping with other people's wives and stuff. But like, I'm a Christian. I go to church every Sunday. Oh, you are? I doubt it. Jesus died for me to continue to sin. Oh, really? Well, they say that in the Bible. I'm going to read one of my favorite stories in the Bible. A lot of them are my favorite stories. You're going to hear that a lot. Proverbs chapter 5. These are in here for a reason. My son, attend to my wisdom and bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as in honeycomb. Men, y'all think y'all finna get a pass on this? I'm not finna add to the word, but I'm finna tell you this goes for both. The lips of a strange man too. So when I say strange woman, just think that if it ain't yours, if you coveting after somebody else's thing, property, it ain't yours. Now, I ain't going into girlfriend, boyfriend, because I'm going to tell you something about girlfriends and boyfriends, people. You remember I told you, God told me, don't ever mess with a married woman. Now, after I went through a divorce and I separated from my first wife and got a certificate of divorce because of the act of adultery, And she was pagan too, just to throw that out there. But she did commit adultery on me multiple times. Because I wrestle with that. I'm like, I'm a man of God, Lord. How in the world I can't keep my wife? Houston, have you read Hosea? I told Hosea to give it a certain, okay, just read the story yourself. But I remember when I met my wife I'm with right now. When I first met her, she was seeing someone. She wasn't married to him. She was seeing someone. And I met her. And the Lord was like, put in my mind, marry her. And I remember that day when we finally made it official. I mean, when we said we're going to be together and we're going to get married a year from the day we met. She was dating someone. He wasn't her husband. She was dating someone. And I remember she called him like, it's over with. The Lord has found me a man. So all you people that's been shacking up or in a relationship with somebody, don't let God send somebody like me around and be like, hey, he really care about your soul. He want to marry you. He just want to sleep with you. Know the difference, people. So basically, I took somebody else's girlfriend from them, and I married her. Think God is wrong, mad at me for that? Sanctification. That's a real story too. That thou must regard discretion, that thy lips may keep knowledge, for the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb. Remember when I said strange woman, think man too, and her mouth is smoother than all, but her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of her life, her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. Hear me now, therefore, O you children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh to the door of her house. But she said her husband beat up. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh to her, the door of her house, lest thou give thine honor to others, and thy years unto the cruel. Let strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of the stranger. Think about that, what happens when you start sleeping with somebody else's wife, or, well, I'm going to say girlfriend too, or, no, I'm going to say wife. You caking her, you giving her all this money. I'm going to leave her. And you giving all your wealth to somebody else's house. Well, can I see you tonight? No, thank you for paying that power bill though. But guess what? I'm not leaving my husband for you. Oh yes. Thank you. You just gave your wealth to somebody else. I was talking to a co-worker of mine a few years ago. He's like, man, I ain't ready to settle down. I'm looking for God to give me the perfect woman. So he got a lot of girlfriends. I was like, man, how can you build upon that? You know, so you got 6 girlfriends. So you scattering your wealth 6 different ways. For all you players and pimps out there, you scattering your wealth 6 different ways. But I can afford it. Okay, fool. Keep giving your sustenance to strangers. I don't care about money. I don't care about that. Okay, fool. Keep doing it. Let strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. And thou mourn at the last when thy flesh and thy body are consumed. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof, and have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ears to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. Drink waters out of thy own cistern, get your own wife. And running waters out of thy own well, get your own husband. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the streets. Let them be only thine, get your own wife or husband, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Get your own wife, son. It's in daughters, husband, wife of the youth. He encouraged you to get married young. If you read the book to the elect lady, I think John, 3rd John, I think, he's like, women, teach the other women to marry young. He didn't say wait till you finish college. He ain't say wait till you get you established in your business. He ain't say wait until you got the best house you want. Then he said after widows who are widows indeed, after they've grown wanted, now they want to marry. After they've been put through the ringer. I heard Vivica F.O.C now that she's like in her 50s. Now ready to settle down. Oh, what about when you was younger? You weren't ready then? You was too busy trying to be a whore. Oops, did I say that out loud? I was too. Too busy trying to be a whore. I remember when I first met my first wife, I ended up getting her pregnant. But I wasn't ready to marry. I was ready to be a whore. I should have took the sign. Lord, God, Houston, I allowed you to impregnate this woman now. What you gonna do about it? Be a whore? That's what I'm gonna do. Went through all hell in that relationship. It ended in divorce, but I learned. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. And why would thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before his eyes, and the Lord, he pondereth all his goings. His own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with cords of sins. Let me pause and I will continue.